These two pianos cost virtually the same. The difference is that one plugs in and is powered by computer, the other one is fully acoustic. So in today's video, we're gonna answer the question, in 2025, have digital pianos finally caught up to acoustics? And really, what are, if any, the musical differences that remain? So the first thing I did was I sat down and I tried to find how closely I could get this instrument replicating the exact playing experience of this piano. For those who know Kawai digital pianos well, I've gone into the virtual technician and edited all sorts of parameters, including cabinet resonance, string resonance, voicing, touch, to try and get this thing behaving both dynamically and tonally as close to this K200 as I possibly could. And so the first thing we're gonna do is play the results of how close I could get this. If this had been 5 years ago, or even honestly 12 months ago, to get a digital piano even like 60% or 70% all the way to an acoustic, especially in a side-by-side comparison like this, would have been pretty impressive. But to be honest, I think I've gotten this a lot closer than that. Listen to this. So before we get any further in today's video, I'd love to ask a favor. If you're part of the 50% of people watching this video right now that aren't subscribed, hit that button. Not only do our subscribers receive exclusive content, access to draws, and even promotion on product, but subscribing actually helps the channel to keep going and creating great content that you enjoy, all about pianos and, music broadly. So if you haven't already, please join our community, hit that subscribe and notification bell, and now let's get back to the video. Now, the areas that sound the most convincing for me, I would say, is the middle 2/3 of the instrument, which makes a lot of sense because, as I've said in a number of other videos, the parts of an acoustic piano where the most individual character tends to shine through is the top 2 octaves and the bottom 2 octaves, for better or worse. That's usually the place where a lot of the weird anomalies or imperfections are going to show up a little more easily, but it's also the place where it's going to be the most difficult to replicate on a digital piano. Now, let's dive a little deeper than just that. Now, for reference, I've got the volume here at about 75 to 80%. I really tried to set the volume based on about a forte pressure over here and there, and then matching it until those volumes were as close as possible. here's where the acoustic is still shining for me a little bit more, even though the dynamic response actually felt pretty close. As I got up into a double forte or fortissimo on the acoustic, I felt like I could have still kept digging a little bit more and probably got a little more volume out of this instrument. Whereas the digital, once you get really up to about a double forte, you can tell you sort of hit the ceiling of the dynamic range more than on the acoustic. But outside of those extreme outer edges of your dynamic range, it actually responded very similarly in terms of how sensitive it was. So here is my take when it comes to comparing digitals and acoustics at exactly the same price point. This Kawai K200 happens, as we said right at the beginning, to be about the same price as the CA901. And the two areas that I still feel the K200 is giving me a little more musically speaking is the cabinet resonance and all the subtlety at every dynamic level that's reaching my ears in the room. What we noticed in some of the early takes that we did for this video was actually on microphone, that cabinet resonance didn't even translate into the microphone. So what you were hearing at home probably sounded very, very similar, but in person, that acoustic still gives you just a little more information, in a lot of ways, non-harmonic information coming towards you, just as you can feel the whole chamber of the instrument resonate. So that's the first place where I think it still gives a little bit more interest. But keep in mind, that's only when you're playing the digital without headphones, because with a good set of headphones, the digital actually does recreate that resonance extremely well. So the second area that acoustics still to this point dominate is when you are really pushing the upper dynamic limits of the instrument. There is a point where digital piano speakers just won't go louder. And it doesn't matter how hard you lay into those keys, you really do have a limit at which you just can't push it. Now, are there digitals that sound as good as an acoustic piano such as this? Well, I would argue that we're probably at the 95% mark with something like Kawai's Novus line, for instance, and their upcoming NV6 has me super excited, particularly because of just how musically engaging I really found their NV5 and NV5S. So the NV6 promises, I think, to be even closer to an acoustic experience. So back to the point of the video, have digitals at the same price caught up to acoustics? Well, I think in this case, if we're talking about the in-person experience without headphones, we're probably at about a 9 out of 10. If we're talking about a headphone experience or just comparing the quality of the audio information leaving the soundboard, well, I think we really are pretty well equal. Thanks as always to our amazing group of subscribers who continue to support the channel in such awesome ways. Please let us know what you thought of the video. We're always coming up with new and interesting ways to talk about and explore the world of pianos. My name is Stu Harrison. This is Merriam Pianos on YouTube, and we will see you again soon.